Okay, hey everybody. Got a great one for you today. We're going to be doing the final piece for this particular set of 9. I decided to double up on this one and give you guys a pretty cool shot of Galactus. I'm going to be sharing this with the page real quick. Bear with me here just a second to go live over there so everybody can see it. Alrighty. And there we go. Cool deal. All right. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. Now, we're going to get right into this thing. As you know, or may not know, if you don't, I'll bring you up to speed real quick. Been working on this set. There's Galactus in the big fight scene for everybody. I applied everybody from the Fantastic Four and the Four Heralds. Here's Silver Surfer down here. Ben Grimm behind the fin on his helmet there. Terrax being held down by Reed Richards. Fire Lord back here in an invisible globe from the Invisible Woman right there. There's Airwalker down here on the corner, and the Human Torch. Everybody's involved. There's Ben Grimm, aka the Thing. Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, Airwalker. There's Terrax. There's Firelord. There's Silver Surfer. And there is Sue Storm. So now that you guys have been brought up, I'm going to go ahead and pop this thing out so I can get moving on it. I might, depending on time constraints, I might take 2 days with this and split this up because Facebook's been having a few problems with their tech updates and stuff like that, and I really don't want this to get jacked up. So it depends on the time frame. Okay, I'm going to start over here on the helmet. I'm going to do it this way on Galactus for you guys so that we can get this going. But understand if I call a hold on it, that would be why. Excuse me. Anyway, a cold front came through and everything's kind of acting wonky. Allergies and stuff like that, so bear with me. But anyway, kind of going to start with this helmet here. I went with a cross between the newer modern look where Jim Lee and a couple of other people have picked up these awesome adaptations to Galactus's armor. But for the most part, I'm still going to keep it pretty traditional. I like the Kirby version. It was a great design, and I really don't want to mess with it too much. But if you see a modification or two, it's because I picked up from Mike Warengo's run before he passed away, and a couple of other, artists along the way that have given really, really cool designs for Galactus. And I've researched this probably the last week or so since I decided to do this design, and I picked up my favorite features for my incarnation of Galactus. So I hope you guys dig it. And if you see this here, it's just a piece of paper for my hand here. Many people use these. I just want to protect the card because there's a lot going on here and I don't want to smudge all this. But anyway, as I was saying, this is one of those that's an iconic character for Marvel. And beyond the Fantastic Four, he has his own following and fandom, and it is crazy just how meticulous people can be for Galactus and the designs that artists take on it. They can pick it apart, unlike anything I've ever seen in comics, to be perfectly honest. I've never seen a loyalty that I have in Galactus fans. It's strange. There's actually a Galactus group of fans out there that will come after you if you mess with Galactus too much, and I didn't know that. But in my research, I saw that they do some very extreme things in protecting their vision of Galactus. So, if you're gonna take on fans and draw this card, or this character, be sure that you protect yourself, because you might have somebody gnawing at your ankles or something. It get a little intense. So, but anyway, as we're moving along here, this is one of those characters that I just wanted to do diligence to. Can't talk today. Due diligence to, because of the fact that I didn't want to mess it up. Because I'm such a Kirby fan anyway, and these guys just knocked it out, man. And in no way am I comparing myself to Jack by any means, but I can only do the best that I can do in the moment, and it is what it is. So we move right along through here. One of the things you'll notice about these sketch cards is I don't keep really heavy clean edges. I like to keep them a little more relaxed, because it is a sketch card, and for expediency, as you guys know from all of these cards now, I'm more about knocking it out, but I want to make it as good as I can. I just don't care about the imperfections at this point, because they're a little more raw. And I also go in and clean that up when I ink it. I mean, a lot of people will be screaming, it's unprofessional to have imperfections. Nah. My motto is, right after what I preach all the time, which is community over competition. I also have the hardcore work motto of production over perfectionism. I'm not about making it perfect. I want it to be good, but I don't want it to be perfect. If I tried to make this thing perfect, we would never get out of here. You guys wouldn't see a single card be done. I mean, there's always things I can improve on it, and when I ink it and stuff, I'm constantly, pointing at and going, hey, I could have done this or done that, but I don't know. It's a little strange, because there's no harder critique on an artist can get other than from themselves, as you know, and it's always funny. Bear with me a sec. I'm going to grab some water. Wet the vocal cords here so I don't sound like I'm sucking on gravel. That'll help. Apparently my voice has decided it's going to rebel on me today. But that's okay. We're still here, still working on it. So, when you guys see Galactus, do you think of this character in his true form, or does it constantly make you think of the Fantastic Four 07? That's Rise of the Silver Surfer, the cloud version. I could not believe Fox did that. That still gets me. But it's just like, really? Come on, man. Now, I know we can do so much more with this, but I'm going to build this up here. So bear with me. I just want to make sure I get my hard lines in, because Ben's going to be coming through right here on the side of the fin. He's going to be over here. He'll be in front of it. Over here, he'll be behind the helmet, because he's jumping in right in between the two from behind to jump on Galactus's head. So, and I haven't put a background in on this one, and I don't know that I will. I'm trying to decide what I want to do there for the entire thread of these cards to tie them all together. I might do a 60s style, just bright colored background so that it holds up. And I don't want to cop out with you guys. You know, I want to make sure that everybody's cool with it. Everybody finds it entertaining and, you know, solid. And I haven't decided how far I want to go with that yet. But it will be a built-up set nonetheless. It will be connected somehow, so that we can get all that going. Now, by paneling this and covering it, I don't want to cover it up to where I'm like hiding the image from you guys. So squawk at me and let me know if it's a problem. I'm going to go ahead and cut in bin back here. One of the neighbor kids is over. I can hear the basing. They're all older people around, so it's probably grandkids. They like to cruise up in their cars. And I'm old now, so ever since I hit 40, I find music less and less appealing in the modern era. So my daughter's constantly telling me that I need to get into electric dance music, and I'm like, nope. I like David Guerrero and a couple of things that he does with the stuff that he does, but you know, I'm an old school music guy anyway. But not slapping any of it by any means. I'm just saying. I like all kinds of music. It's just that the older I get, the more I find that there's a lot going on that I don't keep up with like I should. All adults do it. It happens. Got to clean the eraser here so I don't smudge this all up. Now what I did was I cut down that side frame on the back all the way down through the fin. Oops. Yeah. So I got to go back and do that. But again, this is about production, not perfectionism. Now we can see Ben Grimm back there. You guys can see all that, right? And I'm going to do a couple of these as I go along. I'll fill in, you know, some of the rocks and whatnot. I just want to keep that face defined. Yeah, now the vocal cords are waking up. I don't talk much during the day unless I'm producing something. And today I was working on the comic book, Lone Rider, that is going to kickstart finally a day late because I found a page out of whack as I went to go prep it for coloring. I found out that I missed a page during the inking process. Yay! And I had to ink that yesterday, and I finished it just after lunch this afternoon. And that's one of those things. Excuse me for clearing my throat so much, guys. I apologize for that. All the comments are going to be like, I know, because that's probably what I would do. But I have a sense of humor like that, though. But anyway, so we've got that fin down. We've got Ben in here. So he's ready to rock and roll, if you'll pardon the pun. I like the idea of not having too many details, but having enough to where this thing pops out like we need it to. So now, I appreciate the support on the how-to video yesterday. I put up that how-to tip, and I got a bunch of private message requests for more of them, and I appreciate that. You guys are awesome, man. I had no idea it was going to take off like that. It got over 100 views yesterday. And Freddie's still going too. Apparently that's a point of interest because everybody's been asking me about that, when I was going to do some more stuff and when I was going to do the bigger piece that I had talked about with the 11 by 17 pole. And I'm going to be doing that early this week, Monday or Tuesday. I haven't put out a formal point on it yet because of the fact that I've had to get this whole thing going to catch up on the Kickstarter so that you guys can get the content. And I wanted to finish up this series this week so that we could snag on that. So there we go. I'm seeing where everything is here because I have to draw in the details for the fins as well, which I have not done yet. I'm gonna put the scaling and all that on the fins as we go, so you guys will have that. I'm gonna run this right behind Reed here, and right down here is where we're bottoming it. And see, I've got to erase that again. See, I love doing this stuff live because of the fact that I get to do, show the process as well as the imperfections that come in, because, it's not the end of the world if you have to erase something. It's really not. I mean, that's just, it happens. Art is a living, breathing thing, and it's supposed to be a process. And if you go off with the point of thinking you're going to be perfect each and every time, you may as well hang up your hat now. Because you'll never master everything, and you shouldn't. And if you do, you end up like, I'm not going to say any names, but you'll end up like select artists that say, hey, I'm a comic artist, and then they live on 20-year legacies, and they don't do anything with it. So, whatever. Whatever. But anyway. And see, this runs right behind Reed's leg that comes down here. This is Reed's leg. Put a little Kirby squiggle for his knee. Because he's got to be standing somewhere. You can't just, do that up in the air. But you got Ben bouncing around over here, which he's the biggest character on the board next to Galactus. And then you've got Terrax right in here, and you've got Reed wrapped up all around him here. And you'll see this as I flesh it out. But I wanted to make sure that ran up behind because that's what I'm working on at present. It was funny. I got asked last night, when you gonna put up the website? I want to see the training. Well, I wanted to finish more of this first so that you guys have that going. Let's see. Yeah, I want to do this other fin first. I'm trying to keep it semi-symmetrical and on point here, so I don't go missing a bunch of it. But yeah, it was funny because what happened was the guy emailed me and he said, or messaged me and said, when are you going to build your training? You're talking about all this training and I want to see it. Your art's awesome, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, thanks, man. But, he said, well, I wish I could draw like you, and I'm hoping to get to do that out of the course. And I was like, well, why do you want to draw like me? Draw like you. It turned out he was 18. I was like, a young man. So if you talk to people and they say that they want to draw like you, tell them, go find your own voice. And don't be a jerk about it, but tell them to find their original craft so that they can find their voice. Don't tell them to, don't tell them to steal yours, but take the praise with it and move on. But I told that young guy that he needed to study at least 5 major artists and at least 5 classic artists. And I told him, I said, if you want to study and get really good. Study 5 major guys that are popular now, and then study 5 that aren't anymore. Because the classic guys used to have to work for a living. You know, we get to come in and do all the cool, dynamic, fun stuff that, you know, they built the foundation for. But it's not the same, man. It's not the same. I mean, don't get me wrong. We have really cool stuff now, but that classic stuff, man, that's just, because I hear it all the time, you know, about how books have to be color dependent and, you know, this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, really? I was just reading on The Savage Sword of Conan last night. I read the essentials all the time. The black and white reprints of most of Marvel stuff. I'm constantly reading that stuff. And I love those books. One, it keeps me from handling my comics too much. And for two is the fact that every time I get the opportunity to do that, I get to go in and, you know, get something else going on. I'm trying so hard to keep this very simple and not over detail this, because I want to keep these super small. And because I sketch in the framework underneath all my characters, sketching it in this way is kind of making it bend a little crooked and stuff, and it's driving me bonkers. Because I like to go in and you know, you guys know how I like to draw out the forms and whatnot. And drawing them like this raw is a little bit of a pain in the butt because it's not true to form like I would like it. And it's driving me bonkers. It really is. It's driving me crazy. Because I want to go in and do the proportions properly. But the last thing I want to do is put a butt crack on Silver Surfer. So we're going to leave that alone and move on. So I'm just going to go into more of this other stuff, you know. Bear with me here just a second. Okay. Sorry about that. I had an audio check come in, and I had to check it because I have someone watching purposely to make sure that I don't cut out, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing anything. I appreciate that. Oh, now everybody runs off. That's funny. No, it's all good. You stop drawing, man. Crack the whip. Let's see. I think we're going to do this just fine. Really, really, really. I do. And like I said, we're coming up on the 30-minute mark. So I may split this into two if Facebook starts acting up, because I don't want that to be a problem for us. All right? So what I will do is I will split this into 2 sessions where we can watch and see how this unfolds. And I will color this one up immediately this weekend. So we have that going on. And by the way, I got asked if I would show any of the comic book. I can do that. If you guys want to see, I can show a little bit of what's coming up. This particular book, I've built 7 or 8 issues around it. But this particular comic has been giving me grief. So, if you guys don't know what's going on, I've got a comic book that I just finished inking, and it's taken me roughly, I don't know, a month and a half to get it all tied up. from penciled covers missing, you know, from the artist that was working on it with me, all the way down to other stuff going on with my colorist that was going to color it falling off because he got ill, and one new one quitting on me because of the fact that he just flaked out. And, you know, it's just been one disaster after another with this thing. But I am not giving up on this title. It is awesome. Life happens. I'm okay with that. I really am. I'm excited. And with me moving into publishing and marketing full time with my clientele and with the books that I've got going and all the projects that I've still got out, it's just been a task. Let's put it that way. A true hardcore task. And I am going to be putting up the Kickstarter and kicking this thing out very quickly. I am, if nothing else, excited for having this up. And this weekend, I also put together the book for you guys with the these cards, matter of fact, in some progression or another. And we're getting all that underway very quickly. Very quickly. I am enjoying this like no tomorrow. Whenever I get this going, whenever I get a card going like this, and this is a big set, I really, really get pumped on these things because of the fact that they're so fun. I'm going to draw in that gauntlet or glove or whatever you want to call it right there and get that mapped out. We may finish this thing. I don't know. Facebook's not crackling on me too much, so we'll see. But like I said, I don't want to go into, you know, too much of a spiel about it. But anyway, the comic Lone Rider, it is copyright protected and trademarked by Firestorm Comics. And that paperwork is legit, so please don't push it, because my attorneys will. So that's why I can talk about it and whatnot, because it's protected. But sorry. But yeah, it is a steampunk, cyberpunk, sci-fi, future-based Western superhero comic. Say that 3 times fast, if you can remember all of it. Think about that one. I'm just saying. Yep. So we get the best of pretty much every world in there. At least 3. Because it is connected to Earth. It is connected to the timeline of the continuity for Firestorm. But it is also contained in its own future timeline. So you guys will have to check it out to find out how. Every time I say something about it, it's like, say what? Yeah, I like that. I like it when the people are confused. They have to pick up my comic book. But anyway, all joking aside, it's very, very solid. It's a good book. I'm very proud of it. Now I'm going to cut in Johnny here, flying around. You see these weird flames going around and whatnot. Now I don't want to cut across Airwalker's spooky Nova-powered Angel Fire wings thing that he's got going on there. This is more of an electrical type of energy in these wings rather than what Johnny puts off as the torch. So, but Airwalker's there nonetheless. And everybody's starting to come together and be outlined and whatnot. So you guys are just going to have to hang with me. Don't go running off. We will get there. I hope you guys can start to see this coming together with the Surfer over here, Ben Grimm up here, Terrax back there, Reed's still out of the picture right at the moment, Firelord's back in the globe there, there's Sue Storm, there's Airwalker down here, and there's the Human Torch right there. So now I really like drawing in these segmentations into Galactus's glove, because this particular armor, when you do his hand like this, it gives you a clear line to that thumb muscle, for one, which comes up in here and does this weird kind of thing right off the pad of the hand. With this glove, because there's a line there. But you can do this segmentation, and where he opens his hand, these things flux. And I love to do that because it just gives it more of a organic armor type of thing, like an Iron Man type of character. And I just really, really think it's cool because of the fact that it's possible. It's plausible that he could have an armor like that and the hand move. It makes sense. Where Galactus really doesn't. But, you know, because, I mean, who's seen a Planet Eater like that? You know what I mean? I mean, how do you argue that point? We got it coming together here, slowly but surely. I've got a lot of detailing to do on this thing. But we will get there. We will get there. Turn this around so I don't miscut that finger knuckle and make it look all funky. It's like, what are you doing? But anyway, I like to do the finger segments too, because a lot of people say, hey man, comics aren't supposed to have 3 digits. They're supposed to have 2 on the fingers. I totally disagree with that. I am not a fan of that. I don't support that philosophy. I say if you're drawing a human, they should have at least 3 digits on each finger. You know, 3 of the old segments on the fingers. Because if they don't, it just looks weird. I mean, you know, and the hands look funky anyway when you draw them, no matter what, because they never look, you know, unless you go super photorealistic, which I will not do. It gets odd, you know. I just find that it gets really, really discomforting, because you either do or you don't. You know, you push it far enough to where it looks like a hand, or you don't, you know. And I don't like it when people go the other extreme either, and they just have that shell, you know. I mean, if you're going to do like a power marker and its hand lights up and it's a charge or something, that's awesome. I get that. But don't draw just, you know, don't draw the outline of a hand and then just leave it there. That's crazy to me. It looks unfinished. And it's like, well, the color will fix it. No, it won't. It really won't. And don't get me wrong, I'm not being cynical. I'm just saying that's a personal preference, you know. So what I'm going to do here is, and this is something else I did too, that just cracked me up to no end, was I drew out the torch here, and I almost gave him a female type of hip, which looked ridiculous when I laid it out. I had to go back and fix that because I gave it to him real thick, and then I dropped it in here too far. Instead of scoring that line out, I actually dipped it, and it made it look like a female form rather than the typical superhero type of form. And I was just like, no, can't do that. So I had to block him out a little bit because it looked a little too feminine. I mean, even for Johnny, I mean, he's a little guy anyway. He's athletically built, so he's a little leaner. But still, I was just like, nah, not going to happen. See, this kind of stuff happens all the time. And, you know, everybody's like, well, do you ever mess up? All the freaking time. All the time. Especially drawing this small. Because you got to consider, this card is a 3x5. Okay? So we're still working with, in this case, we're working basically 6x5. And it's still going to be small. I mean, there's my thumb, and, you know, he's about 2/3 of my thumb. So understand that it's just freaking tiny. Seriously tiny. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these in real quick so we can get this going. Draw in Reed's black boot there. Kind of give him a drop shadow. That card's a little rough there. I'm going to draw the other side of his leg here. And because it's on a dark spot on Galactus's hand there, I'm going to put that highlight in. So now we look like we've got Reed's legs there. I'm going to draw the neckline here. And drawing the neck muscles and the little Adam's apple type of thing in the bottom like this, if you do an underscope like that, be sure to put in that Adam's apple when you stretch their head out like that, especially for Reed, because that is a big marker to let you know, one, it's a guy, and two is the fact that it gives him a little more human dynamic appeal. Okay, so think about that. I know that's a little more intense than what we really wanted, but there you go. Now I'm going to put in Terrax's big freaking feet right here with Reed swirled around him like a constrictor. I'll draw in that tunic thing that he wears. I can't remember what that's called, but that's an Egyptian cloth, and I don't remember what it's called, but there you go anyway. It's an Egyptian because it's not a tunic. I'm going to draw in both of Reed's wraps right here is what we'll call them. Reed's wraps. Where he's holding Terrax down. Then we'll put one across this arm here, two across this arm here. Then we'll come out across the elbow. And the hand. Holding him back. Now what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to put in a fist this way. Like he's holding him up this direction. Pop up a couple of Piggly Wigglies in there for the fingers. And we'll put the top of the wrist here. And then we're going to put Reed holding him right there next to that arm. Now we'll drop in the elbow. We're going to put that big old nugget back here because he likes to have that beard thing going on like this. And we'll put in a little face line. Reed's arm, his chest, the Fantastic Four symbol right there. And then we'll go across this way and show his other shoulder because he's stretched out. So now, got to add on a little bit of that stretch for the black part of the neck. And now we've got Reed popping in real solid. Yeah, that works. So now we got tiny Terrax. We got tiny Reed back here. We've got his legs going on. To add his hands in here somewhere, I'm going to black this one out right there. And then what I'll do is I'll black the edge of that corner out. And over here, I'll black this edge out so that it shows his glove. So his hands are in there somewhere. His feet are down here. He's standing on the back of Galactus, and he's holding him up, you know, on his arm kind of thing. So we've got that going on. This will show up really well when we color it. Now I've got the trail coming in for Johnny back here, which I'm going to go ahead and fill in really quick. Thanks to my boy Scotty Young for his style of fire, which I love that optical illusion going on there with the way the fire comes off, just nice and sharp. We'll put Sue in the front. We'll put Fire Lord in the back. So now we got that going on. I'm going to put the tail down here for Johnny. Going to put a little bit of a swish type of thing going on where it looks like it's cut across kind of deal. So we've got Surfer in place, got Ben in place. I need to fine tune Galactus's armor now that he's all drawn in. Almost right here. Get that finger down before someone says I did a bad gesture on cam, which I'm not doing. I was keeping my fingerprints off the card, so don't be twisting that out. I didn't do a rude gesture there. I'm holding my hand out like that. Just don't read more into it, because that's not my intent. So we have the skirt down here on Firewalker, which this cracks me up because being a Nova, you'd think he'd have high-tech armor, but he doesn't. He has very Romanesque type armor. Almost more Trojan style, you know, because it's a skirt and it's not a kilt and it's not a tunic. It is a skirt, which I find that weird. And then he has the, like I said, almost the Greek or Trojan style lashing boots, which they're an apocalyptic type of version of those, which I found a little weird because they're not lashed necessarily as much as they are segmented. I'm going to pop in that knee right there, put in the little squiggles, and then we're going to put in these couplings, which are a line across, and then they have this little yellow segment. These are red and brown, I guess, straps, for lack of a better term, and then they have these yellow segments in them. So go figure. So, anyway. And yes, I stunted him. And the reason I did that is I did that on purpose. Because he's thicker. He's more like Ben. He's not lean. He is actually, in comparison to the other characters, he's very thick. I don't know why. But he's just, every comic reference, every artistic reference shows him to be very small. But then every comic reference shows him to be massive. And I don't know exactly why he plays out that way, but obviously he does, and this is going to be like a horrible rendition until I ink it in. I'm just laying this out right at the moment, because until I get in there and cut in that face, it's going to look weird, because these are so tiny. But we'll pop in that arm right there. Put in that tiny little fist, which cracks me up to no end, because until I ink it, it's not going to show up. But they're just so small. Here's a trick that Sue picked up whenever she was supposed to be one of Galactus's new heralds, which is the invisible disc, which I love that concept of her hovering on an invisible disc, kind of like Magneto with metal. I really do. I dig that to no end. This is going to be like classic Sue here, so bear with me. She's not going to be, you know, as sexualized as a lot of people would like her. She's going to be more tactical in this position, because what you're going to have right here is the hot little hand holding out to keep her going and afloat, and then the chest assistance and her torso and whatnot there. So like I said, this is going to be tiny because of the fact of where we're at on these cards. And there's going to be her other hand right up there like that. So now she's hovering around, and we're going to go back here and draw in Fire Lord. And then for today, I'm going to call it, and I'll finish this up and do the rest of this tomorrow for you guys to have it all themed out and whatnot, and drawing all the tech and detailing for finishing this up in part 2. I just don't want to run for, you know, a couple of hours on these cards, because I know you guys want to do your own stuff and whatnot. So like I said, I'm going to leave this orb like this around Fire Lord for the moment, and then I'm going to come over here and draw in Galactus's neck, almost like this tunic, sweater, turtleneck, dicky type of thing that he's got going on over here. And drawing this other side of the neck here so that it looks legit with the armor, because it went behind Silver Surfer's hand. And in tomorrow's final section, what we'll do is I'll flesh all of this out for Galactus. I'll flesh out the rest of Fire Lord here, and then we'll tweak on the rest of it and hang out, and I'll start coloring this thing up so that we can get them going. You guys are awesome. I'm going to call it right here. Thank you very much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you tomorrow for part 2. Sorry we didn't get a chance to finish this up, but I've been pushing it for 47, going on 47 minutes now, and I don't, like I said, I just don't want to string this out. But tomorrow when we finish it up, we will have the entire section laid out. I will drop the table so that once this is done, we can see all of those put together, and we'll get this set finished up, because I really want to start inking and coloring this one this weekend so that we can do it for the Kickstarter. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Talk to you tomorrow.